Evening and welcome viewers and to those listening to the audio-only portion of this episode of the Cricket Show USA. A very warm welcome to our invited guest, Mr. Vernon Springer. I am Dennis Heath, and with me in the studio is Cricket Hall of Famer, Coach Jatin Patel, and Cricket Show founder and president, Mr. Leon Francis. Good evening again to you, Mr. Springer, and thank you for joining us this evening.
All right,
Pleasure
good
to
evening.
see you again, Mr. Springer.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Looking younger than ever.
Well, as you know, as we speak, I'm in the US. I'm in Connecticut,
Oh,
and so it's really wonderful to be here. Got in contact with Jatin, and decided that I wanted to be able to get on your guys' program so we could be able to promote the new franchise, the Antigua Barbuda Falcons, and it's really an exciting time. And I really want to thank you, Leon. The
yes.
first time I'm meeting Dennis Heath, I want to thank you, Leon, because you were really the first man, along with Oliver and Carter, who really introduced me when I first started trying to see if I could get my message out through cricket. So I want to thank you very much, Leon, for your contribution.
I want to express my thanks to you too. I've learned quite a bit from you over the years. Very knowledgeable, and we just hope that you will lend some of that knowledge to our great show here, along with the finest people I've ever worked with, Dennis Heath and Mr. Jatin Patel. Couldn't find better people.
Jatin is really a pioneer when it comes in terms of his historical background about the game and his love and his connections as well. Because Jatin, when I first got introduced to Jatin by you, Leon,
yeah,
we've always connected in a very, very, very big way. And so I'm glad that I could be able to share some of my insights. I've learned a lot from Jatin too, in terms of the politics and how I'm not good at, I'm not a good diplomat, right? But Jatin has kept me solid, especially when I go on the program with Michael Chambers.
Yeah.
And those guys there. You learn so much there, but Michael and Jatin, they keep me grounded.
Good. In good company.
We're keeping all check marks in good place.
Yeah. Mr. Springer, can the Falcons survive where the Hawksbill failed?
But let me say to you that the return of the Antigua and Barbuda Hawksbill team, which went to St. Kitts and Nevis, you're talking about a 10-year cycle. Antigua and Barbuda has changed since that 10-year cycle. And it's a good question that you asked, Dennis, because it's instrumental that I was part of that change from Hawksbill to the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots. And politically, you know what happened 2015 when the move was made. The Denzel Douglas government lost the election, and that was a whole different ball game. 10 years on, I'm now in Antigua and Barbuda, and I now see a return of a CPL franchise to Antigua and Barbuda. Now, this is something that has been on the card now for some time, and the credit must go to the Minister of Sports, the Honorable Darrell Matthew, because I think one of his legacies that he really wanted was to be able to have a return of a CPL team. It is timely that you ask, Dennis, because we have the Cricket West Indies headquarters, which is based in Antigua and Barbuda. You now have the Leeward Islands Hurricane franchise, which is also going to be moving to Antigua and Barbuda the ending of this month. So just picture having the Cricket West Indies headquarters, the Leeward Islands Cricket Board headquarters and its franchise, and the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. So I think that the Falcon survival in Antigua and Barbuda is in a better place 10 years on. More so, the culture of Antigua and Barbuda is multifaceted, because Antigua and Barbuda is a melting pot where you have folks from Jamaica, from Dominica, from St. Lucia, from all around who live in Antigua and Barbuda. So unlike what you might have had 10 years ago, where everybody would have been complaining and saying, oh, well, why is Leon Francis not playing? People now understand the business concept of franchise. And so with the Leeward Island Hurricane franchise in Antigua and Barbuda, and you're getting a model of what franchise cricket is really all about, the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons is coming back with a vigor. Now, the transition period is very important, because the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons have demonstrated that they want to be easily one of the #1 CPL franchises in the Caribbean. And I will explain to you, Dennis, Leon, and Jatin, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. We're the first franchise to have the Governor General of a head of state, Sir Rodney Williams, who was a former Minister of Sports, and Lady Sandra Williams as patron for the Antigua Barbuda Falcons. So we established that very, very, very early o'clock. And we just didn't only have them as our patron, we have also coincided and linking up with them on the Hallow Foundation. So we're going to be doing a number of projects together. Hence, out of that relationship, we have teamed up with the University of the West Indies Five Island campus in Antigua and Barbuda. And we are sponsoring 2 sports scholarships per year. And the University of the West Indies Five Island campus has just rolled out its sports scholarship program. And so Antigua and Barbuda Falcons, we just signed a memorandum of understanding with the University of the West Indies Five Island campus. So we're not just only here about cricket. We're also very much concerned about the sporting and the education aspect of the young boys and girls in Antigua and Barbuda. Hence, while we will have 2 youngsters, once the University of the West Indies identify these 2 youngsters, we want them to be part of our team, which will be moving around for the CPL to get a framework of what is going to be happening, whether it be a scorer, whatever aspect they want to get into. And so, Leon, 10, 15 years from now, I might not be here. I might be in my rocking chair. And so this has to continue. And so we have to begin to start grooming young boys and girls into the aspect of sport. One of the other areas which we are working on, and we'll be conducting workshops in Antigua and Barbuda, is to be able to, with the expertise of our CEO and General Manager, Jeff Miller, is to start to talk to the clubs about the relationship of how do you manage young players. I have some skills in terms of how do I help some of the clubs in Antigua and Barbuda to raise funds? Because what you really have is that you have teams, but a lot of the PIC Liberta Blackhawks continue to be the #1 club in Antigua and Barbuda. Now, why are they the #1 club in Antigua and Barbuda? Because they're organized. And so, yes, they would have maybe other clubs in Antigua and Barbuda, the Pigot Sports Club or the All Saints or the New Winthrops, but they maybe just lack just the finer points of some understandings that can make them also a great club, like the PIC Liberta Blackhawks. So it's all about setting up workshops, setting up areas, also going and speaking to young people. If you look around, Leon, in the Caribbean, and Dennis, we don't have any of our sports agents who come out of the Caribbean. Most of our top young cricketers, male or female, overseas agents control all of that. Are we sending our young people to study sports law? I mean, these are just areas that I'm talking about. So sport is a billion-dollar industry, but how are we helping our young people in the Caribbean for them to understand that they can also share in the spoils of being a lawyer, an agent, a physiotherapist, an analyst, a video analyst? There are opportunities out there. So when you have 3 important franchises in Antigua and Barbuda, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to create employment now, because sooner rather than later, Cricket West Indies is going to need more physios. There are going to be more camps taking place in Antigua and Barbuda. The Falcons themselves are also going to be having youth camp. So we're not just only coming just for CPL. We're also going to be looking to team up with the Ministry of Sports in Antigua and Barbuda to launch a pad, to have a launching pad to identify young cricketers at the primary school level, both boys and girls. So a lot of work in behind the scenes. And like you asked, Dennis, we want to make sure that we leave a legacy. The Falcons is not just only here for CPL. The Falcons is going to be active all year round.
All right, you just answered my second question I had in mind. But let me just ask you, Falcons have a stadium capacity of 10,000. What number are you aiming for at the lower level to ensure success on the, shall we say, on the field?
But let me just say to you that our organization, our management team is working feverishly. As you realize, we've got a lot of promotions taking place behind the scenes. We had a road show 2 weeks ago where we went east, and we had the launch of our song. Our song is being done by Claudia C.P. Peters, one of the top vocalists out of Antigua and Barbuda. I think I sent it to Jatin, so maybe we get a chance that we could hear a piece of it. We also had the launch of our mascot of our mascot. We also had the launch of our girls. Carib, one of our sponsors, their girls were also on show. We had English Harbor, one of our sponsors, their girls also were on show. And so what we try to do is to be able to create an atmosphere. And so that was the first Friday in July. We've launched a campaign called Falcons Friday, where every Friday we want everybody in Antigua and Barbuda or outside of Antigua and Barbuda in the diaspora to wear an Antigua and Barbuda Falcon shirt. If you don't have an Antigua and Barbuda Falcon shirt, you can just put on an Antigua and Barbuda shirt. And we're dubbing that the Falcons Friday. So we want everybody in Antigua and Barbuda to own the team. Now that is part of our campaign to get people to rally, come to the stadium, as you asked, Dennis. Now you said it's about, it's 10,000. We have 4 night games and we have 1 day game, which is against the Barbados Royals, 10 a.m. Our first game is on the 29th of August. We're taking on St. Kitts and Nevis at 8 p.m. So the CPL starts in Antigua and Barbuda for 2024. The Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League starts in Antigua and Barbuda. Part of our campaign, for us to be able to break even realistically, is that we have to get anywhere close to 7,500 fans inside the stadium. And that's a big ask, but we feel that we can be able to execute that. And so there's going to be various campaigns taking place. Some of our sponsors are going to be rallying, and we're not going to be as rigid as the ICC World Cup folks. Folks going to be able to allow to come to the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium and sit anywhere they want. We want fans to come to the stadium. We want people to enjoy the atmosphere. So we don't want to have you walking up and down the place and sending you all over. We want to make sure that you come there. It's the biggest party in sports. CPL started in Antigua and Barbuda, the Coolidge Cricket Ground and the Stanford Cricket Ground. And we want to create that atmosphere. Saying that also, Dennis, we also have bills to pay. Because remember, the Jamaica Tallawahs transferred into the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. For the last 4 or 5 years, the Jamaica Tallawahs did not have a home game. All of their games were more or less away. So it was almost like a loss. So you have to understand now that although we're coming into Antigua and Barbuda, we're coming with a debt. And so we have to be able to find ways. And one of the ways which we are marketing is to sell our replicas. And one of the areas that we're talking about too is Ravi. I know you might be watching this show right now, Ravi at Wow Sports Zone. We want to be able to make sure that we get some Antigua and Barbuda Falcons jerseys in Ravi's shop so that, we can create some revenue stream for the folks in terms of what's happening. But it's something that I am up for, Leon, Dennis, and Jatin. And I've put my hand up to be able to make sure that the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons will be a registered name. And we're going to push. Once we get the entire population of Antigua and Barbuda behind us, the sky's the limit. We're in it to win it.
Thank you so much. That sounds like excitement on the ground. Leon, please, anything for...
Yes, Vernon, it's good to see you back with us again. Now, I noticed we have 4 local lads in the team. How good is Joel Andrew?
How good is Joel Andrew?
And do you expect him to reach far?
I'll say to you, Leon, and I'll say to you, Dennis, and I'll say to you, Jatin, in 2 years' time, Joel Andrew is going to play for the West Indies senior team. In 2 years' time.
Well, Dennis was saying that he was hoping that the West Indies would have taken Joel Andrew with them as a promotional player, but he did not come through. But we are hoping for good things. And do you have a vision where the Falcons will end this year? Do you expect to take the championship or at the top?
Well, let me say, in T20, anything happens, Leah. Anything can happen on the day. I think we've put together one of the finest squads I think that you've seen for a very long time. The squad speaks for itself, and it's a winning squad. And when I say it's a winning squad, the Jamaica Tallawahs would have won the championship 3 times. So that in itself. One of the things which you have to understand, the commitment of the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons to Antigua and Barbuda population is the governmental support. The government of Antigua and Barbuda is 150% behind this franchise, led by the Prime Minister. We've spoken to almost everybody, not just the government, we've even spoken to the opposition, just to let you know. We even went over to Barbuda. We're thinking about putting together a camp over in Barbuda for young boys and girls. So we want everybody to understand what we're talking about when we talk about the Antigua Barbuda Falcons. So the government's commitment so far has been really, 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 really tremendous. I mean, I'm talking about all the ministries. The Minister of Tourism, Honorable Max Fernandez, because as you realize on the shirt, you would see Antigua Barbuda Tourism Authority. And they're just basically one of the main sponsors to be able to get this engine going. The Minister of Sports, this is almost like his legacy. This is one of his legacies. Whenever he bows out of politics, whether the next 10, 15 years, he'll be able to look back and say, well, hey, listen, I brought back a franchise to Antigua. These are the benefits. Now, we're not just only talking about men, Leon. The Antigua Barbuda Falcons, we have made a pitch to the CPL organizers and to the owners of the league. We want to have our own women's team in 2025. In fact, we've gone so far, we want to have our own women's team. There are 3 women's teams right now. We want to be the 4th, and we want to host the tournament next year in Antigua and Barbuda. Wow. That's how far we're going. So we're making a statement. We're making a case. We want to be able to make sure that we have Shanisha Brittany Hector, the first player from Antigua and Barbuda and from the Leeward Islands, to play for the West Indies. I see a draft came out with some players. After such a successful tournament in both the 50 over and the T20 tournament, I find it very strange that she was not even included in one of the teams after she was in one of the squads last year. Right. But she's called up for a camp. She's getting ready. I think she leaves tomorrow for a camp in Trinidad and Tobago with the West Indies senior team. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. We got some young players in Antigua and Barbuda, the Kimberly Anthony. You realize the Leeward Islands under 19 team just placed second in the Cricket West Indies under 19 tournament. Yes. So that sets it up for us now to be able to make a case to CPL and say, well, look, you see what's happening. We placed 3rd in the senior competition. The women placed 3rd in the senior competition, 2nd in the under 19 competition. You have a young chap, Leon, who you will be seeing turning out, Jazara Claxton, 17, 18 years old from St. Kitts. She's got some real, real potential. I hope to see her in 18 months' time in the senior team. Natural athlete. She's almost like a DeAndre Jatin. She represented St. Kitts and Nevis at the Carifta Games. Wow. So she's a natural, what you would consider to be a baller. Played national football also for St. Kitts and Nevis. So when you see her on the field, I just bracing you and Dennis and Jatel, you see a natural athlete. And she's still going. She's still learning the game. We're speaking right now to one of the coaches in England, John Maynard, and we're hoping to see if she can be able to get a stint to go to England to play some women's cricket. But that is the development stage that we're going through to try to see if we can be able to help some of the players. Tanya Martin, another young player from Antigua and Barbuda. Kimberly Anthony, another young outstanding player from Antigua and Barbuda. So the talent is around. We're not short of talent. What we really want is organization. If we can get, Leon, mentors like you to come down maybe even for 2-3 days and talk to these players about the game, get Jatin. I want to have a conversation with Jatin as well. Come down when we have some coaching sessions and bring a new philosophy. Because sometimes I think that the coaches in the Caribbean don't rely on teaching the boys and girls the fundamentals enough. What we're doing is that we just look for the glamour right now. We just look there. And that is why I want to pay some tribute to one of Joel Andrews' first coaches, Abuda Ban, who passed away, I think, last week. Wow. Yes. He used to be by the Rising Sun ground. You know, Leon. Yes. Very active young man who was there all the time. He was involved in basketball. He was involved in all the sport. So Antigua's lost one of the volunteer coaches who toiled. He was at the Rising Sun ground. You know, he received contribution from Sir Viv. When Sir Viv go away and get gears, he would bring back gears for him because he had all these youngsters in Antigua and Barbuda, and he would just be there. Sometimes I used to feel sorry for him, Leon, because people used to just come and just drop off their kid. Don't come back for them until 6, 7 o'clock in the night. They would drop them off like since 8 o'clock in the morning. But he never moved. He just stayed there and he just worked with them. And Joel Andrew is a product of his hard work. So it's coaches like those folks that we really, really, really will need going forward.
Just one more, Dennis, before I couldn't stop but ask you about Hayden Walsh. I often believe that he's often underused. You think this is a big opportunity to make it big again?
The issue with Hayden Walsh, Leon, is the folks who manage Hayden Walsh don't understand how to manage Hayden Walsh. And when I say that, I'm talking about the respective captains, even at the West Indies level. Now, all of us would know, Jatin is an expert at wrist bowling. Once a wrist spinner comes on, the first thing you have to do is protection. So he's going to drag down a ball, but you need to be able to give him that protection. The captains who have managed Hayden Walsh Jr., they start with him attacking. And so he's not allowed to settle into his own groove. And so sometimes when he goes for 10, 12, then he doesn't bowl again. Any wrist spinner, Adam Zampa, you name it. You look around, you see all the wrist spinners around the world. Hasaranga, all of those guys. They're going to be expensive. But once they hit their length, they're going to get wickets. They're going to get 5 for 40, 6 for something, right? West Indies, for some particular reason, it's like once the Hayden Walsh plays and he doesn't pitch at the same time, he's off. And like I said to you, they do not set the right field placing for him. I also felt, Leon, that Hayden Walsh Jr. was better when he was with the Barbados team, simply because they understood how to manage him. Him coming back to the Leeward Islands, I don't think the Leeward Islands really understand the value of Hayden Walsh.
Of Hayden Walsh, yes. Thank you for that.
That has been my problem.
Two-side process is number one. I have seen Hayden Walsh for a long time now. Even he was in a picture for the USA team also, long time ago. And to me, you cannot clap with one hand. You need both hands. And that's a how. When you say wrist spinner, number one priority is definitely you need to have confidence to get in. So the coach and the captain should go with the bowler himself. The reason for that, bowler has a confidence to deliver, and he is the one supposed to set up the field he wants, instead someone else do it. Number two, as a bowler, I still believe it's a little bit here and there, but he can perform really well if he goes with the proper mindset, and that is where he has to keep control on it. Any wrist spinner coming from India, to be honest, the first delivery is not about taking wicket, not giving you lose. First thing you want to do is how you can beat the batsman and not let him score. If you succeed that number one step, then you can tighten up and go a little aggressive to buy a wicket, right? So this a little bit formula stuff, I will say, the chemistry, it's not working in West Indies, not just for Walsh. I have seen almost every spinner is going through the same challenges. They are not getting the same field setup, same confidence the Indian, Sri Lankan, or Pakistani spinners getting it. And it will take a time, but I believe if the coaches are same, assume Shivnarine Chandrapal is still head coach and Ambrose looks like he's a deputy out there. If it is that situation, he will have more self-confidence than he has played other franchise in CPL.
Thank you, Coach. Mr. Springer, I know Leon mentioned Jewel Andrews and some comments I'd made previously. Yes, I had advocated for the West Indies to take Andrews as a developmental player to England. I know they've taken the other young man, I think it's Thorne, or is it Lane? They've taken one of Thorne. So I would have liked to have seen Jewel Andrews go along as well, because that would have benefited him a lot. We have West Indies as 6 or 7 assistant coaches and 1 developmental player. Now, to me, that is a little short-sighted. But since we're speaking of Jewel Andrews, how likely is it that Jewel Andrews will feature in 3 or more of your franchise matches this season?
If you don't look sharp, Dennis, he might even play all the games.
Wow.
That's how good he is. But I want to go back to a point that you just made, Leon and Dennis. And let me once again applaud Jatin for his level of commitment and understanding. The coaches in the Caribbean, they can't move the spinners in the Caribbean to the next level. That's a fundamental problem. They are not capable of moving the spinners to a next level. And this is something which I think that Cricket West Indies have to seriously address, as to figure out whether we're going to hire Leon Francis for 2 years or 3 years. We can't just hire somebody part-time. We got to be able to identify a couple of coaches who are going to work with our young spinners. There's a young man by the name of Micaiah McKenzie from Antigua Barbuda.
From New Chips.
Yes, who's playing. He plays for Empire, but he's playing with the Cricket West Indies under-19 tournament.
Yes.
And I saw him around the Cricket West Indies setup. Nikita Miller was his coach. And by the time he came back to the club level, I saw a different Micaiah McKenzie. And I'm saying that's a skill. That is something, Jatin just explained it just a while ago. You first have to be able to have a clear mindset. You have to be able to put in the work. Are the coaches in the Caribbean capable of putting in that type of work with the youngsters and the level of confidence? I don't see that coming true. Now, I just wanted to raise this for Noel because he's going to be surprised. Isaiah Thorne, who originally was supposed to be in England as a development player, is now in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, returned back to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to play under-19 cricket.
Yep.
Well,
that to me is just,
right.
I can't figure out that up until now. Because I'm saying, you've gone to England to play 3 test matches. This is, in fact, Isaiah Thorne should have gone to Ireland. He should have gone to Ireland with that academy team.
Yes.
Kevin Wickham should have gone to Ireland with that academy team, right? Because these were the 2 guys that when Ireland came to the Caribbean last year, these were the star performers. Yes. So how do you not take easily one of your best batsmen and your fastest bowler on the Ireland tour? More so, you have a situation where Shamar Joseph has not played any red ball cricket since Australia. No. He didn't get a game in the World Cup. He's short of match practice. Trust me, the level of confidence, everything is down. And you have Isaiah Thorne in St. Vincent and the Grenadines playing under-19 cricket. I mean, who does that, Leon? So it just shows you. Then Dennis made, I'm support of Dennis because listen to this. Tevin Imla didn't keep 1 game in the just concluded 4-day competition in cricket in the West Indies. But yet still he went to Australia as the 2nd wicket keeper. Right? Kemal Savory was Ghana's keeper. But Tevin Imla is in England as the 2nd wicket keeper. Now, in fairness, I think he should be playing right now. Yes. If I was Cricket West Indies selectors, Mackenzie should be sitting on the bench, and that young man Tevin Imla should be playing for the West Indies. If we're serious about any level of cricket, he showed coming from Australia. A lot of people didn't really talk about him, but he was one of the finds that came back to the region and showed that he learned something from the Australian tour, along with Kevin Sinclair. And he should be playing tomorrow. Mackenzie should be sitting on the bench. In fact, Mackenzie is very lucky to be in England. Yes. Very, very, very lucky.
Yes. His performance during the 4-day championship was somewhat lackluster. So I definitely agree with you there. Now, would you support franchise matches being played in 1 or 2 venues rather than 6 venues as a way to reduce the traveling costs?
In sports, you're always going to have costs. No, and because of the government's investing so much in some of these major franchises, it's almost a tourism marketing tool. I also feel that conversations have already started. You know, late 2020 is going to be rolling out by the end of this month, start of August. So already there could be some reduction in costs going forward for the next CPL, which I think could tremendously help with some of the areas. But you know what the major cost what comes up in the major cost now? It's the broadcast crew. So you have to be able to find a jet that is a charter jet that is going to be able to move the equipment and all of that stuff to that area. So cost, once you involve in sports, Leon, Noel, Jatin, you know it's going to be, cost is always going to go up. But the government so far have been cooperating, and like I said, I know the Antigua Barbuda Falcons, we're already talking to Leah 2020. So hopefully they will be one of our sponsors come next season, 2025. And that in itself would certainly be able to kind of more or less ease the cost. It will also be good for CPL as well, too, because what you have to take into consideration, the OECS now has 3 franchise teams. So that in itself would be a good conversation. You're talking about St. Kitts, Antigua, St. Lucia, competing now against the other 3. So that's a conversation that could certainly bear in mind. I'm not counting out anything, Leon, because whether we like it or not, Jamaica, you must have Jamaica involved in cricket.
Yep.
You must have Jamaica involved in cricket. Well, I don't care what anybody tell me. So maybe in the next 2 years' time, we can maybe have back, maybe not a Jamaica Tallowers, but you can have back a Jamaica franchise, which is needed. Jamaica is our biggest population in the Caribbean. The human interest story and the talent that they've produced over the years, that can't go unnoticed. There has to be talent there. There has to be organization. You have all these players moving out from Jamaica and going into the US now to play cricket, but they're marketable. And anything that has a Jamaican brand is always going to be good for whether it be track and field, be football, you name it. Because their fans are going to come out and they're going to turn out in big numbers.
Thank you. Leon?
What I learned from this World
go ahead,
Cup, what I learned from this World Cup is logistically, if the CPL and Cricket West Indies is smart enough, you don't need to invest millions of dollars in charter plane. Look what the BCCI did. The Air India used to be government owned. When time needed, they bring the charter plane for them. So this Caribbean island means Caribbean Airlines. We have British Airlines, then you have Virgin, American Airlines, then you have United. I will say they need to negotiate with these airline companies, make one of them as their primary sponsor or something, and they need to provide these special charter planes to them when it's needed. So that way, the scheduling for this travel can be avoided. By the way, I think I like this format this year, the way it is going, like especially for the Antigua Falcons, I can see that they're playing 5 games at home and 5 games away, which is exactly working in IPL. So the team has a home game and away game against the same opponent. And by doing so, the biggest advantage is you're going to have a fresh pitch. Because between 2 games, that will be an ample time to prepare this pitch to produce the quality performance. If you're playing just 1 or 2 venue, I believe they did it under the Corona and around Corona. I think they were playing in just Trinidad or something, all games. But that doesn't please anybody because more of a wear and tear and not having enough time between 2 games to prepare those pitches mean the quality cricket go down as you play more games on it. By the way, I like to play this song for everybody while we are on sound. And let's, yes, I'll put it on so you can listen.
No sound, Jatin. Coming up. No? No sound though, Jatin.
Well, can we move on while you search for Leon?
Let me ask Vernon a question, Dennis, before you slip me.
Yeah.
Kelvin Pittman. He started with a bang. Has he fallen off, or this is going to be his?
Kelvin Pittman is a work in progress, and I again, that's an area of my concern. When I saw him with the academy team, I just felt that he was just one of the guys who was sort of left behind, really. But the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons, we've got a plan for him. You know, Sir Kurt Ambrose is the assistant coach for the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. Shivnara and Shanda Paul is also the head coach, and joining the coaching squad this year is Wilden Cornwall, who was with the Leeward Islands Hurricanes. So he'll be part of the coaching fraternity. But we are also looking, Antigua and Barbuda Falcons, on having Dr. Sir Andy Roberts as more or less one of the mentors, and Eileen Baptist, and people like Dave Joseph, you know, when we conduct some camps during the year, to be able to get those players involved, you know, Kerry Jeremy, you know, Gavin Dong, some of the former players, Ridley Jacob, you know, Winston Benjamin, who's doing an excellent job, Kenneth Benjamin. You have all these human resources, Leon, in Antigua and Barbuda, and we just need to be able to just find a way in terms of, you know, bringing everybody on board and having them in the same room and using them. I know a lot of people are going to be listening to this conversation, Leon, and saying, well, these plans sound good that have been rolled out by the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons, but almost everybody has a part to play, because our responsibility is to the young boys and girls in Antigua and Barbuda and around the Leeward Islands to be able to dream and to be following the footsteps of someone like a Joel Andrew, to say, I want to be like a Joel Andrew. I want to be like a Kelvin Pittman to play for the Antigua and Barbuda Falcon. I want to be a Teddy Bishop. You know, you want to dream for them, but you also have to put systems in place to make that happen. Now, when you look at the Antigua and Barbuda Cricket Association, out of all of the countries in the Leeward Islands, the Antigua and Barbuda Cricket Association is maybe the only cricketing body in the Leeward that plays red ball and white ball cricket. Most of the other territories in the Leeward Islands, they maybe only just play white ball cricket. I know they don't play any red ball cricket where Nathan Edwards is from in St. Martin. They play all white ball cricket. They play T20 cricket. Anguilla is just on the rebound right now. Terry Adams, Omari Banks, and a number of guys in Anguilla have decided that they're going to get together. They have to be able to figure out how they're going to be able to revive back cricket in Anguilla. And so they're going to be having some training camps coming up over the next couple of weeks in Anguilla. In Nevis, you have all of these human resources in Nevis. Carly Powell has tried his best, but I think you need more than just trying your best. There needs to be a proper league between St. Kitts and Nevis. The gap is too wide. The talent base is too wide between St. Kitts and Nevis. You know, since we've gone there, Leon, Michael Louis played, if you ask him when last he played red ball cricket outside of playing for the Leeward Islands at home, it would have to be when he was practicing with the Leeward Islands Hurricane, because there's no red ball league being played in St. Kitts or Nevis. It's just white ball cricket being played. Same thing applies for players in Montserrat or in St. Kitts and in Anguilla or in USVI or BVI. So when we hear people talking about, test cricket and this, we don't even have a system in place to encourage some of the young players to play red ball cricket. In some instances, there's maybe not even primary school cricket being played in some of these countries. So how we expect to get a Leon Francis if we're not playing primary school cricket?
It wasn't the captain for the side, is he wasn't Ikmal? Imal? Is going to be the captain of the Falcons?
Well, that announcement is not being made yet. So
Okay.
we got a couple of options. You know, coming over. Remember, Brandon King was the last captain for the Jamaica Talawah. So that announcement could be made, you know, sooner rather than later in the next couple of weeks. But we've got a good squad.
Yes.
As when you look on paper.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but like I said, you got Mohamed Amir, Imad Wazim.
Yeah.
I mean, these are outstanding guys. We got some young prospect talent there. Fabian Allen. You're talking about Fabian Allen and Hayden Ward.
Yep. One of the best feelings in the world.
Finest feelers in the world on any given day. You know what can be able to happen. But like I said, the camp starts in Antigua and Barbuda. All of the players arrive in Antigua and Barbuda on the 23rd, 24th of August. There's going to be an organized camp in Antigua and Barbuda. We're also going to be having some training camps. We're going to be organizing 2 training camps in the respective communities. So some of the players who are involved in the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons franchise, we have some coaching sessions designed for them. The Governor General and Lady Williams of Antigua and Barbuda will be organizing a cocktail for the teams who will be visiting Antigua and Barbuda. So it'll be Antigua and Barbuda Falcons cocktail. And so we'll have some of the other franchises. I think Ghana will be here. St. Kitts and Nevis, I think, might be coming in on the same night when we're having the cocktail. So some exciting plans. Really exciting plans. And you know, the energy. We met with the CPL franchise about a week and a half ago. It's almost all systems go. They're very much keen. They were very much impressed, Michael Hall, in terms of the level of organization and how far advanced that we are. You know what I mean? But a lot of work have gone on behind the scenes in terms of, you know, led by our leadership, our CEO and general manager, Jeff Miller. He's created a team, and we've really done a lot of work on the ground, and we've really got the population of Antigua and Barbuda, like I said to you, Leon, and Dennis, Jatin. It's the population that we want behind it, because a franchise coming back 10 years' time, you certainly have to take you have to sit down and say, why did Antigua and Barbuda lose the franchise? So 10 years on, like I said to you, Antigua and Barbuda is more mature.
Yep.
So in that light, would you be able to tell us now where tickets locations will be for the franchise for matches in Antigua Barbuda?
We don't have any physical outlet tickets yet, Dennis. In about 2 weeks' time, we will, Rubis, who is one of the sponsors, we will be selling physical tickets at the Rubis gas station outlet. So our main office in Antigua and Barbuda is in the Jasmine Court building, number 19. And so the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons office, you can be able to go there. There was some training taking place over the last couple of weeks to be able to start selling tickets. So the physical ticket sales could take place at our physical office at Jasmine Court building number 19. And closer to the time, the final 2 weeks before the first game on the 29th, we'll have a physical ticket office at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. But in the meantime, we want to encourage fans to go on the CPL website and purchase your tickets, because already a lot of people are gearing up to be able to buy the tickets. But you know, Leah, we're in the Caribbean, right? We're in hurricane season. People physically like to go by the ticket office and buy their tickets. They're not going to go online and buy their tickets. And we don't want to end up like the ICC World Cup, where the World Cup said that all of the tickets were sold out. And then when I look in the United States of America, I see a lot of empty stadiums.
Empty spaces.
You know, so we don't want to make that mistake. You know what I mean? We want folk. In fact, we're designing packages also for the elderly. We're designing packages for the elderly. We are also, the Antigua Barbuda Falcons is a family franchise.
Yep.
So when we design a package, we just don't want the dad and mommy to come to the cricket. We want the dad and the mommy to bring their children to the cricket. So these are aspects that we're looking at. So we're designing packages. One of the packages that we're talking about, Leon, we have created, and we're speaking to a number of businesses in Antigua and Barbuda to get them to buy the replica jerseys. So far on the campaign, we have the Citizen by Investment Unit. Their staff have purchased the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons shirt. We have a couple of the banks who have also joined on board to be able to purchase the Antigua and Barbuda replica jerseys. And on Friday, wear them. So we want, when Leon Francis steps into, let's say, a bank. Now, we know Republic Bank is the main sponsor for the CPL, but there's no branch in Antigua and Barbuda. So wow. we're talking to a number of the banks to say, listen, come on board and support us. So when folks come in on a Friday and they say Leon Francis, a teller behind the bank in Antigua and Barbuda Falcons jersey, that's going to gravitate him to say, hey, I love that jersey. Where can I get that jersey? And so these are some of the initiatives that we're creating to be able to make that happen. And like I said, part of our revenue stream will be the replicas. And we also have to be able to get close to about 7,500 folks to be able to break even for the 5 home games that we're going to have in Antigua and Barbuda.
Just before you go, Jatin started a question about Liat, about transporting, having chartered planes to take the players around. Do you see the possibility of Liat filling that role?
Oh, yeah. Like I said to you, in 2025, Liat certainly will be one of the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons sponsors going forward. And, you know, you just never know. It can go beyond Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. It can go as far up as even CPL, because CPL already, they're speaking to Caribbean Airlines. And just as Jatin said, you got to be able to start to talk to the folks in the Caribbean who can be able to help you. Winnie is also making a big move in the Caribbean as well, too. So you have a number of airlines who would certainly want to come on board. You have, let's look at the Antigua and Barbuda Falcon. We have Jamal Hamilton coming out of Anguilla. You got Nathan Edwards from St. Martin, who's going to be with Trinidad and Tobago. So that's the marketing campaign for Winnie. Either St. Martin in Anguilla, how do they organize to get folks to come over, right? With Liat 2020 being based in Antigua and Barbuda, that's another revenue stream. And Liat is not only just, Liat is also going to be introducing a jet service, which can be able to move teams around the Caribbean. So, like I said, it's exciting times ahead. Don't forget also the folks from the Emerald Isle. I remember that for the last 3 years, MV Mark Twain and MVC Hustler came to Montserrat to pick up folks from Montserrat who went down to St. Kitts and Nevis to look at CPL games. So you also have ferries. So it's just not only air that we're talking about, we also have ferries. There's a ferry, I think, that goes between Guadeloupe and Antigua and Barbuda. They come like this maybe once, twice a month. They bring like about 200 to 300 passengers to Antigua and Barbuda. They just come for the day. So there are avenues being opened up that the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons will be looking to exploit, that we can be able to go to CPL and say, okay, well, listen, we got a carrier here, or we have a ferry that wants to be able to move people from point A to point B. So, like I said, it's just sitting down and figuring out how best we could be able to economically help people in the Caribbean. One of the things I find, Leon, I think that our marketing folks in the Caribbean, we market to bring tourists from Europe, Germany, United States, but we don't do enough marketing to help to generate people in the Caribbean. So a lot of people in the Caribbean, it's easy for them to just go to the United States of America, but they don't really know the Caribbean, where they come from. So somebody from St. Vincent will tell you that they've never been to Dominica. And somebody in Nevis will tell you, well, I've never gone to Montserrat. And you have people in Montserrat who will tell you, well, I've never gone to Antigua. And you got people in Antigua who will tell you, well, I've never gone to Montserrat. So, but it's right here. But they will tell you they went to England and they went to the United States of America. But as close as Montserrat is, they've never gone to Montserrat. They've never gone to Nevis. Simply because we in the Caribbean, all we do is just, we just go outside of the Caribbean, and we don't, so all these festivals we're having the St. Kitts Music Festival, Culturama is taking place in Nevis, 50 years. Antigua and Barbuda have its carnival, Anguilla have its carnival, BVI have its carnival. But are we marketing these festivals to the folks in the Caribbean where they can be able to say, I want to be part of that.
Yep.
Now, one question for you. We were talking about tickets, but how fan-friendly will those ticket prices be?
Very friendly. You don't have to worry. We're gonna have an exciting party stand. Tickets are gonna be affordable, and like I said, very, very affordable. I always like to tell people, Leon and Dennis and Jatin, the Antigua Barbuda Falcons, we don't have ICC's money. So you would not see us have all the exorbitant figures that you saw during the ICC. What you will see us having is affordable prices for folks to come to the cricket game. In fact, one of the areas that we want to improve on is customer service at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium, talking about our volunteers. We want volunteers who can be able to appreciate and understand when Leon Francis, a senior citizen, comes to a cricket game, how do you treat that person? I saw some scenes, Leon, in the World Cup in the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium when I was not working. I saw volunteers go for policemen and take senior citizens up out of their seats from the south side and take them to the north side because they came to see a cricket game. I mean, I saw some stuff that happened, and I'm saying, no, this can't happen during CPL. I mean, you just have to understand. You can imagine one of my highlights, Leon and Dennis and Jatin, an 89-year-old lady came to one of the World Cup games in Antigua and Barbuda.
Wow.
The distance where that lady walked from, Leon, you know the gate at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. You know it's a big walk, right?
Yeah.
Her family came with her. There was no golf cart to move that lady. So they had to take their time to walk with that lady down. But she was adamant that she wanted to see a World Cup game. And her family came from overseas. But the point what I was talking about was that when you have somebody who's 89 years old, you needed to have a golf cart around to be able to just get that lady even as close as possible to the stand. So these are things that I looked at, I took notes. One of the other areas which I saw, I don't think they had enough signage. So you had a lot of people who came to the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium for the game. Somebody said it was gate 19 that you're supposed to enter, but you never saw gate 19. I mean, somebody just tell you it was gate 19 down there. So signage is going to be key. Even parking. I mean, the parking was almost like a nightmare. You know what I mean? Especially the last game. But what was good for me, Leon, although the rain came on the last night when we played against South Africa, I saw people still trying to get into the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium to witness the game. And I have not seen that in a long time, but that's the kind of energy that people just wanted. People just felt like, well, I had to be there. It was raining, but people were still coming in.
One of the regrets of my life, I didn't buy the Donovan's Estate House. I lived there for a number of years. You know that, right? The Donovan's Estate House.
Yes.
I should have bought that house.
You had an opportunity to.
I was an overseer on Donovan's Estate for a number of years. And
wow.
Yeah. Wow. Right there. Wow. Prime place. One of the beautiful places in the world. Quiet.
Wow.
Well, but life is like that. And before we go, I guess, can you tell us a little bit about the return of the Leeward Islands, if there's going to be the Leeward Islands tournament?
That is a political question. And when I say a political question, Leon, I just explained to you how many of the territories who have been calling for Leeward Islands cricket are playing cricket and who is supporting the cricket. And I will break it down, Leon, because I'm involved in the administration, so I understand the headache that President Louis has to go through. And politically, a lot of people like to come and say, oh, well, you need to play Leeward Islands cricket. But playing Leeward Islands cricket is a cost. And a lot of these member associations don't raise funds, Leon. You have to look, it's the Ministry of Sports who really funds a lot of these cricket programs. And I'm talking about Beat St. Kitts, Beat Nevis. Antigua is on its own. So the Antigua Barbuda Cricket Association, because they've been around for such a long time, they've established themselves so they can stand on their own feet. But if you look at Anguilla, if you look at Montserrat, if you look at Nevis, if you look at Sinkit, most times it's the Ministry of Sports that has to fund an under-19 boys tournament, and maybe under-17 tournament, and under-15 tournament. Now you have girls, you have a women's tournament, and maybe you have a girls tournament. Number of these associations, Leon, and they won't be honest with you to come and tell you, Leon, they don't raise funds. They have. When I was involved in Leeward Islands cricket, Leon, I know of tournaments that we would have organized, and we have organized it in a block, and we say, okay, we're going to have a tournament in Montserrat. In fact, we were in a tournament in Montserrat, Leon, that had the first ever Leeward Islands under-17 tournament. We took an under-19 tournament, and we took a 50-over tournament, Montserrat. I remember, Leon, when I went back and I told President Enoch Lewis that I was going to have a Leeward Island tournament in Montserrat, he asked me where the people was going to stay. And I said, everything was in place. We had 2 grounds, you know what I mean? And we made it work. Now, at that point in time, you had support from the Montserrat government. And you know why we had support from the Montserrat government, Leon? Because they had a ferry. So this is the conversation that took place. And those days, Montserrat had a ferry, which I think was taking about 250 to nearly 300 personnel. And so part of the arrangement we sat down to discuss with the Montserrat government of that day was that, listen, we're going to use your ferry. So we're going to go down to Sinkit. We're going to pick up Sinkit, Nevis, Anguilla, St. Martin, and Jetta. And then you would maybe just bring across Antigua. That's how we were able, Leon, to cut costs. Because folks were able to travel on the ferry, walk with as much gear as they wanted. Any more the persons could have come on the ferry, as unlike going on a plane to get into Montserrat. So that was one of the areas that we worked on. That model didn't follow, Leon, and there were some territories who were designed to pool the money, which they would have to pay. And some countries paid and some countries never paid. So these are the kind of situations that you have. And with the amount of tournaments that you need to create is another area. Yes, I would like to see Leeward Islands tournament, Leon. But realistically, Leon, how many of the territories are playing cricket to be able to call for a Leeward Islands tournament? What sort of quality are you going to have of a Leeward Islands tournament? And sometimes we have to be real with ourselves, Leon. And when I say that, is the truth is paid in us. Rather than somebody walk up to Leon and say, Leon, I don't think that most territories are in a position to play a Leeward Islands tournament. They will go on another airways or media and say, oh, well, the Leeward Islands not having any treated tournament and not having that. You, Leon, as an employee, is not going to give me off time for 5 weeks or 4 weeks to go and play Leeward Island tournament. You're not going to give me off that point in time. We have to be realistic. How many of these players, countries are going to give them off to be able to go and play Leeward Island tournament and still pay them?
No, they can't.
We have real issues that we have to deal with that are failing us.
So
you hear Trinidad talking, Leon?
Yeah.
Before Dennis come in. How much red ball cricket is being played in Trinidad and Tobago? But Leon, nobody will come out and say that. There's a challenge in Trinidad and Tobago right now to play red ball cricket.
Okay.
But are you hearing the Brian Lowers and company talk about that?
No.
No, but they're saying Cricket West Indies need to be able to produce test players and this right there.
Exactly.
In Trinidad, they're struggling to play red ball cricket. Leon and Dennis.
How much more of your time can we take up?
I'm here, so you can go ahead. I hope that Jatin can find a song to play. I hope he got it queued up now.
So while he's searching for that song,
you cannot stay up like I do.
You're getting like me.
At the top of the our discussion, you mentioned the support from various government sources. My question is, have the franchise likely to get or have promise of definite financial support or government subsidy?
The contract is broad. And when I say broad, because you're talking about there are certain arrangements in the contract and the agreement in terms of the venue agreement. the use of the stadium, right? Just as usual, once you're coming into a territory, you're going to get duty-free concessions. You're bringing in others. But it's huge to the point where, let's look at the benefits that will be derived for Antigua and Barbuda. In 2023, over 885 million people viewed the CPL. It is expected that 1 billion or more fans will be looking at the CPL for 2024. The Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League is starting in Antigua and Barbuda, which means that when you have the likes of Dr. Sir Andy Roberts, it was 50 years ago that Andy Roberts became the first player from Antigua and Barbuda to play Test cricket. It was 51 years ago that El Camilo Willett became the first player from the Leeward Islands to play Test cricket. 51 years on, Michael Louis becomes the first player from St. Kitts to play for the West Indies as a Test player, not taking anything away from Joseph Emmanuel Benjamin, who was the first Kittitian to play Test cricket, but he played for England.
England,
so yes. So that's something that we need to take into consideration. And I see through social media, a lot of people are downplaying the contribution that Michael Louis becoming the first Kittitian player to play for the West Indies team. That is something which has taken us like 96 years to materialize. 96 years. Now let's if you go back to the history of St. Kitts cricket or Leeward's cricket, George McMahon, Austin Eddy, Luther Kelly, Livingston Harris, Noel Gishard, Sherlin Williams. There are so many players that you would have heard folks talk about that could have played for the West Indies, that didn't play for the West Indies. You can go to Nevis, and you will still hear people talking about Ed Atherton was good enough to play for the West Indies. You can come up to Antigua and Barbuda, and you can talk about all of the outstanding greats, Hugo, you name it. There are so many persons when you jot around. You go to Montserrat, Jim Allen, never played Test cricket, but look at his contribution to regional cricket, right? Alfred Correa. And you can move around. As you move around the island, you'll be able to understand what it meant for a lot of the folks in the past days who had to fight insularity not to have played. Now, I look back at this and I see this as a real strong moment, because even when Joy Benjamin, who was born in St. Kitts, played for England, he was in 1994 at the age of 33 years old. He played one Test match, right? Until when you look around and you will be able to realize that after that Test match, he took 4 for 42 in the first innings, but it was in the second innings that there came a man, Devon Malcolm, who took 9 for 57 against South Africa. We never heard about Joy Benjamin after that, but he played at a critical time where Darren Gough played, Devon Malcolm played, Phil De Freitas played. His captain was Michael Atherton. So he had to have some good pedigree. But I said that to say that when we look at where Louis would have come from, Michael Louis and his brother Jeremiah Louis, parental support, Leon, is critical. His father, who is from Dominica, came to St. Kitts, and while living in St. Kitts, found his love of his life. He built a cricket pitch for his children, for his friends. He used to go around, he used to work at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and he used to go around on weekends around with his children, trying to organize to be able to get a cricket game, whether it be in St. Kitts or Nevis. A lot of people don't know that. Michael Louis came to the St. Kitts Nevis 13 and under system. And my highlight, Leon, Noel and Jatin, was when Michael Louis was walking up with Craig Brathwaite, who's a graduate from the St. Kitts Nevis 13 and under cricket tournament. He's one of the Test players, along with Kyron Powell, Devon Thomas, Jason Holder, Shamar Brooks, Carlos Brathwaite, Kevin Hodge. All these guys played in the St. Kitts Nevis 13 and under tournament. So when I saw Michael Louis at 23 years old, walking out with the West Indies Test captain Craig Brathwaite, who was a graduate from that tournament, who scored centuries, that, to me, I sat up and I said, wow, just look at what that competition meant to young cricketers. The Raheem Cornwall, the Jamal Hamilton, all those guys came out to the St. Kitts Nevis 13 and under tournament to the point now that you could be able to say that to produce a world champion, Raheem Cornwall is about 29. When I first met Raheem Cornwall, he was 10 years old, right? When I first met, when Kyron Powell scored 100 at 9 years old, Devon Thomas is 10 years old, scoring 100 at that level. That's how competitive that tournament was. Every time I meet Shamar Brooks, I have to sit down and Shamar Brooks could tell me about the good times he had in that tournament, staying in the Newtown Community Center, the girls' guide headquarters. That's what keeps me going, Leon, Dennis and Jatin, when it comes to cricket still, because I know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We took a St. Kitts Nevis All-Star team to Barbados. That team had in Jeremiah Louis, Kezon Archibald, Ross Powell, some players from Bermuda, some players also from Dominica. But we took there, Stuart Williams as the head coach, Robert Pemberton, a couple of the coaches from Noel Gishard. We went to Barbados because we said that if anybody needs to learn anything about cricket, you have to play in Barbados. You have to go to Barbados. If you want to test your mettle, you can't stay in the island. You want to know how good you are, you have to go to Barbados and play. We played against Barbados and we played against Trinidad in a tournament. Now today, because Archibald has played for the West Indies A team, Louis is on the verge of playing Test cricket. So these are the things, these are the envisioned things that you see that happen around. But coming back to the Falcons, when you have Dr. Sir Vivian Richards, National League of Antigua Barbuda, you have Andy Roberts, you have Curtly Ambrose, you have Dr. Sir Richie Richardson as your ambassadors, and you also have Courtney Wald, who will form part of the ambassador for the Antigua Barbuda Falcons, who lives in Antigua Barbuda. You've got a building block. So you've got that wealth of resources. Everybody's looking at the Antigua Barbuda Falcon. And so the support by the government and by the ambassadors is just tremendous. So, hey, the sky's the limit. The most you can do is to be able to just push ahead. And I know Dennis asked me a political question a lot earlier. I can say to you, we'll get to the Final Four. And if we get to the Final Four, anything is possible. We're in it to win it.
All right. So did the Falcons have to sign an agreement to participate in CPL for a fixed number of or a minimum number of seasons?
Yes, yeah, you would have a contractual arrangement that you have to go to CPL. And with the support by the government of Antigua and Barbuda, like I said to you, we've got a long-term lease. Not the 2 years, not the 3 years, we've got a long-term lease.
Good. That sounds positive. Now,
what advice you have to give to Cornwall for him to be back in the white suit? And for Alzari Joseph, of course, you know he's not bowling well.
I wouldn't say he's not bowling well. I just think that
he's not getting the results.
Yeah, Jatin made a point, and you know my mentor Michael Chambers always likes to remind me: if West Indies cricket, we have to get people around to start getting into the minds of West Indian cricketers. The mindset. We have to change our approach. The other countries are not better than us. Is the backroom staff and what they're doing that are making them better than West Indian cricketers. We have to go back to the days of reading and understanding the history of West Indies cricket. If you ever listen to Sir Viv talk, he's always telling you that he read about Sir Larry Constantine. He read a lot of books. Yes, you would say that he came up in a home where his father was very strict on both him and Mervyn, and so they had to be able to sit down. We live in a society right now, Leon, where a lot of people reading seems to be out of style. We take no time out to be able to respect our ancestors and the people who would have toiled for us and who would have brought us here today. I'm a product of folks who would have worked hard, the Austin Eddies. I could remember the days, Leon, in St. Kitts and Nevis, when I would be working in the sports department and our office was just outside of where Austin Eddy lived. And I would be going to coach. And Austin Eddy would come out on his gallery, hot sun. And I would have to stand there and listen to him for 30, 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, talk to me about cricket and the politics. How many players today take some time out and say, I want to go and have a word with Dr. Roberts, or I want to be able to speak to Sir Richie Richardson. So the Antigua Barbuda Falcons, we're going to use our ambassadors to be able to help people like young Joel Anjo, young Kelvin Pittman, and put design programs in place to be able to have Viv come around as mentors to talk to them, not to coach, but as mentors. Just imagine sitting down in a room and Viv Richards talking to you about batting. Just imagine having somebody like Brian Lara come to talk to you about how he prepared himself to score 375 and then come back and break it, 400. Those things are priceless. And that is something which I feel, Leon and Dennis and Jatin, that we are not doing well in the Caribbean. We are not using our former players wisely enough in key areas that are needed. We think everybody needs to be a coach. Everybody does not need to be a coach. We just need to sometimes maybe have people as mentors, maybe where we can be able, you see, if I was around West Indies cricket, Leon, Shimon Hetmeyer, I would have Viv Richards being Shimon Hetmeyer's mentor. He needs a father figure. He needs somebody to be able to tell him, boss, you ain't good, and this is what you need to do. Or help him. Who is helping him? Who is helping a Shamar Joseph? You maybe need to have somebody like a Colin Craft around a Shamar Joseph. And I'm just using some examples of people who would have been successful. One of my disappointments, Leon, for the World Cup in the Caribbean. Guyana is going to have all this money. The World Cup is completed. But look at the contribution that Sir Clive Lloyd made to world cricket. And you're telling me that the Providence Stadium couldn't be named after Sir Clive Lloyd? How you explain that? How you explain that to me? This man was a politician. This man was a leader. This man was he received almost all of the awards. So you can't put Sir Clive Lloyd's name on the Providence Stadium in Guyana. Look at Winston Davis.
Just to bring you up to date with my career in life, I am forever grateful to Leo Gore, the father of Hugh Gore.
Yes.
He was my mentor. One of the greatest cricket minds I've ever known. And I remember he made a 200 against St. Kitts, one of the greatest knocks I've ever seen. And you mentioned Sir Viv. Sir Viv is the most unselfish person, not only because he didn't sign the check, but he did something personally for me, which I will never, ever forget. So just want to mention that to you.
Yeah. So I'm saying we just have to be able to, it's just amazing. When Sir Viv and Richie and Ambi leave the shores of the Caribbean and they go to be Canada, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, the level of respect that they receive is just amazing. Sometimes, Leon, I get goose pimples just being even around Viv, just even being around Andy, Richie Richardson. I get goose pimples to be like, wow, And I started with Leeward Islands as a trainer and then became a coach. You know what I mean? When I started my first stint around Leeward Islands, Viv Richards was captain. That's the same year that Richie Richardson made his debut against Barbados in St. Kitts. That's when I started around Leeward Islands cricket. I remember Viv sat me down, I think it was about on the third day, and asked me if I ever thought about going to England to extend myself as a coach. Those days, you only know about players going to England to play. You know what I mean? I wasn't good, but to be able to just for somebody to tell you about coaching, and the rest is history. I mean, I never look back after that. So, I'm forever grateful to the great man.
Yes.
Mr. Springer, thank you so much. I see Coach has passed his bedtime, and Leon, he stays up all night. But my final point to you or statement to you is, I see your ambition. I support your drive. I hear the goals, and I salute the ideas. And of course, I know success must surely follow.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Vernon.
Yeah, well, I just
Call
I
on
just
us if
want
you
to,
need us. Anything you call us, and we can
yeah.
do, we will
Well,
help.
I just want to use this forum to invite the Antigua and Barbuda folks in the diaspora and all of the other Caribbean cricket fans to come to Antigua and Barbuda. In fact, you could make it you could just prepare yourself. You know, you have so many airlines that are coming there. You got JetBlue, you got American Airlines, you name it. Antigua and Barbuda Carnival is taking place, so you come for the cricket. It's the greatest Caribbean summer lime, and you can also stay for the CPL. The Antigua and Barbuda Falcons, we're having 5 home games. First game is on the 29th of August, 8 p.m. at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. It's the return of an Antigua and Barbuda franchise in 10 years. This franchise belongs to everybody in Antigua and Barbuda. Even if you don't live in Antigua and Barbuda and you live in the United States, in the United Kingdom, wherever you live, feel free to just log on to our Antigua and Barbuda Falcons page and support us, right? Just rally with us. We want you to rally with the team. I want to thank Leon, Jatin, and Dennis for you guys' major contribution and support to the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. And again, on behalf of the owner, Chris Prasad, CEO, General Manager Jeff Miller, and the entire staff of Worldwide Sports Management Corporation, and all of our supporters, our supporting staff, everybody who have made this franchise a huge success so far. I just want to just say to you that we are in it to win it, and come to Antigua and Barbuda, come and support the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons.